Did you know that elephants can't jump? But let's not jump to conclusions about poverty just yet. Just like our tusked friends, some misconceptions about poverty can seem like colossal truths. But are they? Today, we're diving deep into the world of misconceptions, specifically those surrounding poverty. We'll be debunking not one, not two, but 10 of the most common myths that keep the poor struggling. So strap in and hold tight because buckle up, we're about to debunk the top 10 misconceptions about poverty. Imagine believing that poverty is exclusive to developing countries. Now let's debunk this myth. The reality is, poverty is not a tourist. It doesn't need a passport to cross borders. It exists everywhere, even in developed countries. In fact, a significant portion of the population in developed nations, like the United States, struggle with poverty. These struggles are often hidden behind the glossy veneer of skyscrapers and Starbucks. So next time you think poverty is a them problem, remember it's a we problem. Ever heard of the saying, poor people are lazy? Well, that's as true as saying cats are dogs. You see, many folks living in poverty work incredibly hard, often juggling multiple jobs just to make ends meet. Their days are filled with long hours, late nights, and early mornings. Laziness? I don't think so. It's more about systemic issues like wage inequality and lack of opportunities. So remember, poverty is not a laziness issue, it's a systemic one. Jobs, the magic solution to poverty, right? Well, not quite. Let's talk about the working poor. These folks may have jobs, even multiple jobs, but still struggle to meet basic needs due to low wages. The minimum wage in many places is simply not enough to cover the cost of living. This includes rent, food, healthcare, and other essentials. So while employment is crucial, it's not the all-encompassing solution. So jobs are important, but they're not the magic poverty eraser some believe them to be. Education, the great poverty escape? Not always. It's a common misconception that a diploma is the one-way ticket out of poverty's vicious cycle. But let's not forget, quality education isn't always accessible for everyone. There are barriers such as exorbitant fees, lack of resources, and sometimes physical distance. And even with a degree in hand, it doesn't automatically equate to a well-paying job. The issue of poverty is complex and multifaceted. So education is a step, but it's not a poverty-free golden ticket. Poor money management equals poverty? Not so fast. Let's debunk this myth right now. It's easy to assume that poverty is a result of poor money management, but more often than not, poverty is a consequence of low income. If you're making minimum wage, no amount of budgeting can magically turn that into a six-figure salary. So, it's less about how they manage money and more about how much money they have to manage. Ever heard that poor people have too many kids? Well, let's put that to bed. It's easy to assume that larger families equate to poverty. But here's the thing. It's not about the number of kids, but the lack of resources available to them. In many poverty-stricken areas, access to family planning resources is limited or non-existent. So it's not a case of too many kids, but rather too few resources. So it's not about the number of kids, but the resources available to those kids. Bad decisions equals poverty? Hold your horses. Let's think about this. Is it fair to blame someone's financial status solely on their individual decisions? Not so fast. Systemic issues like lack of access to quality education, racial and gender biases, and economic downturns often play significant roles in shaping one's financial situation. These are not just bad decisions, they are bad situations. So it's essential to understand that poverty isn't just a result of bad decisions, but often bad situations. Poverty is decreasing, right? Wrong. You might have heard that global poverty rates are on a downward spiral. But let's unpack that a bit. While it's true that in some regions we've seen decreases, in many places around the world, poverty is still a harsh reality. Did you know that nearly half the world's population still lives on less than $2.50 a day? So don't believe the hype. Poverty is still a major issue. Aid, the magic poverty solution? Think again. While aid can provide immediate relief, it's not a cure-all. It's like slapping a Band-Aid on a deep wound. It might stop the bleeding, but it doesn't heal the injury. True change requires addressing the systemic issues that cause poverty in the first place. Things like fair trade, access to education, and economic opportunities. aid is a stepping stone, not the final destination on the journey out of poverty. So aid can help, but it's not the ultimate solution. Ever heard someone say poor people want to be poor? Well, that's as true as a unicorn riding a rainbow. It's a misconception to think that individuals choose poverty. In reality, they're often trapped in a cycle of limited opportunities and systemic barriers. They face hurdles like lack of quality education, affordable housing, and fair wages. These obstacles make it incredibly difficult to escape poverty. Their desire is not to remain poor, but to overcome these barriers and improve their circumstances. So poverty is not a lifestyle choice, it's a trap. So there you have it, 10 poverty misconceptions debunked. We've navigated through the maze of myths, from the idea that poverty only exists in developing countries to the accusation that the poor are lazy or just need to get a job. We've exposed the fallacies behind the belief that education is a guaranteed escape from poverty and that poor money management is the root cause. Remember, understanding is the first step to change. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more myth-busting content.